A very good morning to everyone. I welcome you all to the fourth session of this masterclass series, and today the discussion is on software asset management. How ServiceDesk Plus can be the one application for all the other applications in your organization. My name is Prem Maheshwaran. I'm a ServiceDesk Plus product expert. I've been with ManageEngine for more than 8 years now. I have implemented and consulted for various companies around the world who are ManageEngine customers. So before we go into the discussion, I'd like to give you a few tips about GoToWebinar. If you'd like to ask me a question, go to the questions section in the control panel and leave your questions there. To initiate a chat, go to the chat section and all your questions will be answered at the end of this discussion. A quick overview of the schedule. So today is the 19th of June and we are discussing software asset management, and it happens in all the four time zones: 3 p.m. AEST, 11 a.m. BST, 11 a.m. CDT, and 11 a.m. PDT. All the sessions will be recorded. The slide deck and the recording will be emailed to all the registrants in a couple of days after the session. So the agenda for discussion today. So we're going to take a situation where two companies are going to merge and how ServiceDesk Plus software license management module can help you manage the licenses, and you can confidently approach an audit, right? So ServiceDesk Plus is going to be the one application that can manage all the other applications in your organization. And the final part of this discussion will be a question and answers section. All right, let's take the situation, right? So a giant logistics company recently acquired a logistics equipment supplier to drive their business forward. So it's an actual use case. So the merging of the companies leave the IT teams of both the companies to partner with each other and work together to meet the software license audit that is due in 6 months, and to negotiate contracts with the vendors to make this process cost effective, right? So there is a list of challenges that the IT teams has to face. So one of the key challenges, identifying the software that require licenses. So in ServiceDesk Plus, we call it managed software. So they have to find out all the software that has to be managed, right? The second challenge, finding the number of installations on every managed software. For example, if you'd like to know the number of machines that are running Adobe Photoshop, we need to find it out in a quicker and easier way. Calculate the compliance in every site and the overall compliance of the organization, right? So we need to find out how compliant your company is for a specific type of license or a specific manufacturer who provided software for you. Get a list of redundant purchases of licenses and also the deficient license quantities. So at times, if there is an audit which is going to happen and we don't have a good visibility of our network, what we end up doing is performing or buying more licenses out of panic, right? So we call it as panic mode purchase just to comply with the license, the licenses, right? Reallocate excess org licenses to under compliance site, procure, renew required licenses, and finally get the reports about the performance of your software licenses. So these are the things that the companies have to do in order to successfully go through an audit after a merger has happened. So software assets pose a different challenge altogether. So when you plan to manage your software assets, so we have been doing hardware asset management for a very long time. We know how to categorize the hardware by its form factor. We know how to group the hardware based on its usage. We know how to create configuration management database. If you're not sure about how to do that, please watch the previous session. It was a dedicated session for hardware asset management. It is available in YouTube. So you can search for ServiceDesk Plus Masterclass and you should find it, right? So we have been doing it for a very long while. But software assets, so that is where we don't really give more focus. So ServiceDesk Plus has a section with which you can manage software licenses and software assets. All right. So some of the challenges that comes into picture when you are planning for a software asset management. First one is prohibited software usage. Right. So some of the software in your organization are blacklisted. It shouldn't be used inside your organization. So we have to create a blacklist. And whenever someone installs the software, the asset manager has to be prompted. Unavailable license types. There are a variety of licenses available from various vendors for different software, and we have to accommodate every license inside the product. Unavailable license agreements. Once again, licenses are covered by contracts. So we call it as license agreements, right? So we have to store the license agreements, the usage agreements, and also keep it renewed, right? So it has to be renewed. Probably when you're doing uh, an internal audit, the software will be compliant, but it might expire in a month. So probably after 6 months, if you have an audit, at that point in time, the software would be expired. So we have to ensure the expiry date and also keep it renewed. And finally, bring everything under one roof. So you have to consolidate all your software assets from various sources under one roof so that it can be effectively managed. If you have it in spreadsheets, text documents, if you have got it in hard copies, everything has to be brought under one roof so that it can be effectively managed. Right? And software licensing isn't making it easier. So we already are struggling with hardware asset management. We are already struggling to bring in the software information from the machines. On top of that, we also have licenses that we have to worry about, right? So we always have this mismatch. There's a huge difference between the number of licenses that you own and the number of installations of the software in your environment. All right, so that is where we fail with audits, right? So we have to somehow match it, and we have to do it, effectively. Managed license visibility, right? So if you have a list of managed software provided by Microsoft, Kaspersky, or Adobe, so we have to somehow get visibility about the managed licenses, and different models of licenses has to be handled in order to do a successful compliance calculation. So software management is going to help us reduce unwanted purchases, right? So when you have a very good visibility about the number of installations and also the number of licenses that you own, you can quickly allocate and figure out whether you're compliant or not. So if you're not compliant, probably you can go with more license purchases. You can also check with the end users if they are using the software at this point in time. If they are not using it anymore, probably you can ask them to uninstall the software and still be compliant without purchasing more licenses. All right. Sometimes a user who is using a specific software has left the organization already. The machine has been revoked, but still the license is sitting on that machine. You can wipe the machine, all right, free up the license and reallocate it to someone else, right? Leverage the existing software licenses with an effective software asset management, right? So that is how you can utilize the software to its maximum, avoid compliance issues when you effectively do that, and also reconfigure risky assets, right? Some of the assets which holds a lot of information and which is going to expire, the software license is going to expire, the software would stop working, business applications can stop working. So we have to ensure that the licenses are in place and also renewed on time to continue using the business application, right? And in a merger and acquisition situation, all right, we have to follow 4 steps in order to successfully keep up with software licensing. First step is to scan the assets. So the easiest way to find out what software are being run in your organization is to perform an asset scan. So hardware asset management takes care of it. So you can deploy ServiceDesk Plus agents to collect information, or you can associate ServiceDesk Plus with third-party tools like SCCM to bring the information to ServiceDesk, right? So we have got various models and methods by which you can bring the data inside. So once you have the asset information inside, then we can create an inventory for software. Just like hardware assets, you can categorize software by its type and also usage, and then perform a compliance audit, and finally manage it by reconciling licenses with installations and also decommissioning older assets in which precious licenses are sitting. All right, so once you decommission, you can recover the license and use it for an active machine. All right, so without any delay, I'm going to show you how ServiceDesk Plus can be the one app for all the other apps. So software asset management in ServiceDesk Plus, for which I'm using the enterprise edition of ServiceDesk Plus for the demonstration. All right. So in the Enterprise Edition, under the Assets tab, there is a section for software. All right. So there is a dedicated section for software. So when you perform an asset scan, let us go to the IT asset section to quickly take a look at what data is fetched when you perform a scan. So let me go to the workstations and servers that are inventoried by ServiceDesk Plus. Right, I've got 91 machines. Right, as you can see here, it can fetch data from different operating systems. Let me go with a Windows machine. Right, so the basic data of the details of the asset is fetched here. So we know the processor, we know the operating system, we know the make and model of the asset. We also get detailed hardware information when we perform the scan. And the interesting part is software. We also get the list of software that are running on that machine. Now you have got hundreds of assets. So we scan all the assets and fetch the software list for each and every machine. Now, I want to know how many machines are running Windows operating system, right? So I cannot go into each and every machine and check whether it is running Windows or any other operating system, right? So the easiest ways to approach is the other way around. So we can choose the software and find out how many machines are running a particular software. So that is where the software section comes in. So I can go to scanned software, and here I get a list. Okay, so and I can also go by the manufacturer. So going with Microsoft Corporation, I can see all the Microsoft products. Okay, so if I want to see how many machines are running a specific software, all I have to do is choose the software and I can see the installations. So this is the other way around. So now I can approach it from the software perspective. I can choose the software, get into it, see the number of machines in which the software is running. Right? So that is what scan software can do to us. Right? Here I can get a list of software, the number of installations found in my organization. All right, so Microsoft Silverlight is available in 22 machines. Microsoft Visual C++ is available in 10 machines. Right? Likewise, I can go with different makes and models. So I can even go with all manufacturers. Right? I can take a look at the different software and its installations. Right? ManageEngine Asset Explorer agent is available in 27 machines. So this is the first step that we have to do. We have to perform a scan. The next step is to classify the software. So we are going to do it by software type. So this is where we have the software types. So you've got excluded software, which we don't worry about. We've got freeware, where we got complimentary licenses, it's free to install and use. Managed software is the thing that we are going to worry about. It's the stuff that we are going to worry about. So any software which is classified as a managed software requires a license. It'll participate in audit and compliance calculation. All right. So if you want to manage a specific software, which is right now in an unidentified state, first you have to convert it into a managed software. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So we've got some custom software type. Open source is the type that I manually added. Got prohibited software. If you mark a specific software as a prohibited one, so I've got mark 2 of the software, like Vim 7.4 is a prohibited software. All right. So if someone is running it, it'll automatically notify the asset manager, that it's been running. And we also got shareware as a type. So if you'd like to add more types of software, all you have to do is go to the admin section, and under the admin section you've got a separate section for software, and this is where you add new software types. All right, as you can see here, this one is not grayed out. It's a custom software type that I added. You can click on new software type to create new types of software. All right, and also you can categorize the software based on its usage. So based on the business purpose, you can create new categories and put the software under the category to create a software inventory. So we now know how to classify the software by its type, and also create a category for the software. Okay, now let us go back to the software scan software list, all software. So as you can see here, some of the software are listed as unidentified. As I told you earlier, if I want to manage a specific software, first I have to convert the software into a managed software. Correct? So let me show you how to change a software into a managed software. So Microsoft Visual C++, I want to manage it. I want to associate license and I want to see the compliance status of it. If that is the case, I have to choose the software listing, go to change software type, click on managed. All right. So move it to a managed software. So now as you can see here, it's now a managed software. So I've got 15 installations and 0 licenses, right? So if you want to take a look at the computers in which the software is running, I can go to the section and see the installations and I can find it there. Okay. Software details, I can see the details of the software, and then comes the licenses. All right. Right now, I don't have any license that I can allocate it to Microsoft Visual C++. Okay. Now let's see how I can bring in licenses inside ServiceDesk Plus. So as you voted in the poll, most of us, 40%, more than 40% of us are using spreadsheets to bring licenses inside ServiceDesk. Managing licenses. Now I'm going to show you how you can bring it inside ServiceDesk. Go to the software licenses section. All right. So this is where all your licenses along with the keys will be stored, and also the different license type that you can choose from. Right. So if you have it in a spreadsheet, save the spreadsheet as a CSV file and import it from the spreadsheet. So that way you can bring all your software licenses inside ServiceDesk Plus and make use of it to manage the installations. Let me show you how you can add a new software license manually. So to add a new one, click on add new, and you've got two options. It can be a standard license, which is fixed to a version, right? So if you buy a license for Windows 7, it's going to stick with Windows 7, right? And also you've got an option to add an upgrade license where it'll also allow you to install the license, apply the license for a newer version. So Windows 7 and Windows 10. If you have got an agreement with Microsoft that allows you to use the same license for both Windows 7 and Windows 10. So if you're planning to upgrade the operating system, you can still continue with the same license. That is the case, I can add it as an upgrade license. All right. So to click on standard license. So if you're going with a regular option, click on standard license, right? So I can choose from all the manufacturers that the scan has identified. All right, these are different manufacturers that the scan has identified. Now I can choose the software for which I want to apply the license. So I'm going to go with Visual C++ 2015. Now I've got different license types, right? So client access license, right? So if you have got multiple clients accessing a central asset, I can go with client access license, and the license options can be per mailbox. So if it is like a mail server and each and every mailbox requires a license, I can go with per mailbox. Per processor, right, per seat or device. So you've got 100 computers accessing a central resource, then I can go with per seat device license, per seat user license, right, and also per server licenses, right? So those are the options available for client access license. Concurrent licenses at any given point of time. Okay, so 25 users are allowed to access a specific resource. If that is the case, I can choose concurrent licenses, choose the license option, and associate users who are eligible to access the application or the resource. So you've got enterprise perpetual and subscription licenses. When you have an agreement with the software vendor, free licenses can be added. Individual licenses, if you buy one software for a specific machine and you've got a single license which supports only one installation, then it can be added as an individual license. Named user licenses. So ServiceDesk Plus is a named user license application. So you can allocate users with licenses. All right, so technicians hold a license in ServiceDesk Plus. Now ServiceDesk Plus can be added as a named user license inside the application. So you've got license options. Then you can go with node locked licenses, which are to a specific machine. You've got OEM licenses provided by the manufacturer, trial licenses. When you're evaluating a software and you still want to be compliant, you can add trial licenses, and then the common type of license, which is volume. right? So I've got a license which supports 100 installations of Windows 10 Professional. That is the case, I can go with volume license. All right, I can choose the type of the license. So you've got select license, select plus license. These are the new types of licenses available, right? So I'm going to go with enterprise sub agreement license, 100. All right, I can provide the license key. All right, and I can choose the vendor from who I acquired the license. Acquisition date can be updated. Expiry date can be updated as well, so that you can choose to renew it accordingly. Right, purchase cost. So if you'd like to manage the cost factor, the total cost of ownership about a software asset, you can input the purchase cost. If you have purchased it for a specific site, sometimes license will have restrictions based on geographical locations. A license procured for US, the United States, cannot be used in India, right? Or if it cannot be used in the UK, then you have to localize the license, right? So what you can do is you can choose the site, all right, and then add the license to a specific site. So machines which have installations of software in that site can be applied with the license, right? Even if you have another office in Los Angeles, you cannot use the licenses from New York and apply it to Los Angeles. If you want to do that, you have to go by organization. All right, so any license that is procured for the entire organizations can be applied anywhere. Once you do that, you can now save the license. Okay, so that is how we add new licenses. Now this license will reflect in our scan software list. Okay, so let me search for Visual C++ 2005. Okay, so I've got 100 purchased licenses, only 15 installations, right? So I've got 100 but 15. Even then I'm showing as under licensed. If you take a look here, it's a managed software. I'm under licensed because the allocations are 0, right? So even though I have 100 licenses, I have to allocate it manually to the installations that have been identified, right? So that is why I have to go into the listing. So I've got 100 available licenses, all right? Now let us take a look at the installation. Choose the installations and click on allocate. So that is when the licenses that I have will be allocated to the installations that are found. Now if I go back to the list, search for 2005, as you can see here, it's allocated to the 15 installations that I found, and I have got 85 licenses more. So the compliance is now over licensed. The compliance type is now over licensed. So this is how I can bring in the licenses, allocate the license to the installations that are found by scanning, and be compliant. Okay, so you've got 3 types of compliance. One is under license. If you're running short of licenses, it'll show as under license. If you have more licenses, it'll be over license. If it is a perfect match, then it'll be a compliant software. All right, so in this case, so we've got Microsoft Office Word Viewer, 14 purchased licenses, 14 installations, and all the 14 has been allocated with a license, and it is in a compliant state. Okay, so ServiceDesk Plus also supports creation of suite licenses. All right, so if you'd like to create a suite of software, I can go into software suite. Okay, so I'm going to call it as Microsoft Office. Okay, it's going to be a managed software. It's from Microsoft. I'm going to associate the applications that are covered by Microsoft Office. Okay, let me see Adobe. Okay, yeah, let's go with Adobe. All right, so now I'm going to create a suite. So for this example, I'm going to use some of the software that I have found here. So the Flash Player 10 plugin, ActiveX 9.1 and 11.5 Shockwave are going to be a part of my suite, right? So now I've got a suite identification model, all right, automatically discover a suite installation if a suite component software installation is greater than or equal to 2. If any of the two software is identified in a computer, it will automatically create a suite under the computer. All right. So sometimes you might have Shockwave as an independent software. I don't want to apply a suite license and waste it. All right. So that is where we set this limit. So if it is below 2, that is one software. If it is an individual software, it will be identified as an individual installation. It will not be considered as a suite. If there are more than 2, right, then it will automatically be identified as a suite and you can apply a suite license to it. Right, so this is how I can manage a suite of products. So if you'd like to quickly know the compliance status of your organization, all you have to do is go to the software summary section. Here you can see the compliance status of your organization. For example, if Microsoft is going to conduct an audit in your organization and you want to know how compliant you are with Microsoft products, I can go with manufacturer. I can choose Microsoft Corporation and it will show all the software that you have. You've got 812 software from Microsoft. You've got 19 managed software out of it, right? The rest of it are like plugins and add-ons. So you worry only about 19 types. It might be operating systems or productivity applications. So we made it as managed software, right? And we are managing the licenses for it, right? And I can allocate the license and see how compliant I am with software, with this particular software. And also I can drill down it by a site. So if you want to know the compliance status of Microsoft products in Brazil, I can go with the site and see how compliant I am in Brazil, right? So if you have got different geographical location offices in different geographical locations or different offices for that matter, you can choose the office and see the compliance status of certain products in specific sites, right? You also got an option to manage license agreements, right? So license agreements are contracts that cover a specific software license. And to create a new software license agreement, click on Add New, and that will take you to the page where you can add the agreement number, also attach the file if you have got a document, agreement document, right? The period, expiry period of the agreement, the vendor from who you procured the agreement. All right, I can provide the purchase details. So if you've got a purchase order that is used to procure this agreement, I can provide the update data of the purchase order. All right, add new licenses and associate it to an agreement. So this is where I can click and associate existing licenses to an agreement. So that way I can keep the agreement renewed. For example, if you have an enterprise agreement with ManageEngine, and enterprise subscription with ManageEngine, so every year you have to renew it on time to continue using the product, I can add an agreement, add the document associated with the agreement, and also associate the license to the agreement. So before the expiry of the license, a notification can be triggered to my asset manager. 15 days before the expiry of this agreement, a notification can be triggered to Anna, and she can initiate contact with ManageEngine to renew the license for ServiceDesk Plus. Right. Likewise, you can create agreements for different software products, associate the licenses that are covered by the agreement, and also configure notifications for on-time renewal of the software licenses. All right. Further to it, software licenses also capture the service packs. So all the service packs that are available in the Windows machines will be automatically fetched and listed over here. If there is a critical service pack that you have to ensure deployed in every machine, you can do it from here. You can check whether it's available in every machine and then initiate a deployment. To measure the performance of the software licenses, I can go into the report section, and there is a separate section for software, right? So here I can quickly run a report and see how compliant I am. And this report can be exported in various formats and can be used in different applications. All right. So likewise, there is a list of software, reports available out of the box. In addition to it, you can also run manual reports. Right, so if you'd like to create a custom report for your software, I can go into the section, choose the report type, right, and then choose software as my module, proceed to the report wizard, choose all the columns that you need in the report, right, and filter. You've got various filter options, you've got chart options, and then you can run the report. Okay, so also there is a dashboard available for assets. So you can go into the dashboard, take a look at the software asset information, right? By software vendor, license compliance, right? So you've got various options by which you can make use of the dashboard to measure your compliance status. So some of the best practices that I'd like to share with regards to software asset management: get real-time dashboards for tracking. So when you effectively do the asset management, right, the hardware asset management, where you inventory assets with remote scanning, you can get real-time information about the software that are running in different machines, right? Check for compliance issues. So check for the licenses that you have in stock. There are different types of licenses that can be applied for one software. So for Windows 10, you can have a volume license, individual license, different types of licenses. Put together, you can know the total number of licenses you have. So that is the advantage of making use of the license management module. So if you have got 100 volume licenses, means a volume license which supports 100 installations, you have got 5 individual licenses. Now you can be compliant for 105 assets. So you can combine and see the total number of assets that can be covered with the licenses, right? So capture license entitlements and reconcile against usage. So that is how you can bring in the licenses into ServiceDesk Plus, reconcile it against the usage, allocate it to installations, and see how compliant you are. See what type of license you own and when they will expire. So it is one more important point to ensure that the license does not expire before the audit. All right. So if it expires before the audit, at the time of audit, you will not be compliant. So you have to see when it's going to expire, renew it accordingly, and keep it alive during the audit season so that it can be compliant. Right. Choose the license type to suit your software. All right. So there are different types of licenses available that can be added into ServiceDesk Plus. Right. Choose the appropriate type and make use of it effectively to manage the licenses. Right. So with that, we have come to the end of this discussion. I want to give you a quick update on the next session. So the next session is going to happen on the 2nd of July. And the topic for discussion is change and project management, a pacer for your IT marathon. It's going to happen across 4 time zones: 3 p.m. AEST, 11 a.m. BST, CDT, and PDT. All right, thank you so much for being so patient with this presentation. So if you've got any further questions, please feel free to shoot an email to us. Thank you and cheers. Bye-bye.